It's you can teach someone skills. You can help them improve their writing. You can give them coaching when it comes to pitching media or presenting or whatever it might be. But you can't teach someone to want to do the job well and want to have that attitude and that kind of accountability. And I think that's something that's really key when whether it's the most junior person or the most senior person, you're having that sense of pride in what you're doing, that professional pride, that accountability that, if I've said I'm going to do something for a client, I'm going to follow through, I'm going to do it.
Hello and welcome to the Social Kandura podcast, the business podcast where we speak with industry leaders who change the way the businesses are done in the UAE. Public relations is something that's an extremely important of how businesses in the UAE are done. And joining us today we have Claire Lawson, who is the general manager, and she heads a lot of different businesses and she helps clean a lot of different businesses from a PR perspective. So she's the general manager for IPN. She's worked a lot with Edelman and she's done a lot of other things that's related to PR as well. Been in Dubai for about a decade, handling everything from automotive to tech to F&B to lifestyle. How's your journey been so far?
Thank you so much for the welcome. Thank you for having me. So I have been here 10 years now, which is kind of unbelievable. It's gone very fast, as I think as everyone who's ever lived in Dubai knows, it passes by very quickly. I came to Dubai 10 years ago to join APCO Worldwide. I came over as part of heading up the BlackBerry account. So I was working for a consumer tech agency in London, Tex 100, working on clients like SanDisk, Lenovo, Nokia at the time, and then when we won BlackBerry, I was brought over to kind of head that business with APCO. And I was kind of told very quickly when I said, oh, I'm consumer tech, that's what I do. And I was told by my boss, no, you don't have a specialism here. When you come to Dubai, you do everything. Right. So that kind of 3.5 years there was a really interesting learning experience. It was the kind of first time I'd worked in the Middle East, first time I'd worked with different countries across the region. So I was working with, it was a regional account, so working with Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi, Egypt, Qatar. So it was a really interesting entry to the market, great learning experience. The client that I was working with was fantastic. She kind of really, she had come from Australia and then was working here, so she kind of had that transition, so really guided me through that. And then worked, as I said, my boss said, you're a jack of all trades now, which at the time was scary, but it meant that I got to do everything from working with Mazda, working with Damas as a retailer, working with Maras on their L&E portfolio. So we really kind of got to look at different industries. It was a really great learning curve in terms of how the UAE works, working with other markets across the region and really kind of developing my skills and understanding the market. From there, I was at Edelman, as you mentioned, for about 1.5 years, working on clients such as BMW, LinkedIn, Marriott at the time, and then joined IPN about 5 years ago. I've been there ever since. And again, I kind of went back to my consumer tech roots. I was working with Huawei when I first came over to IPN, and now work and have worked there. Came over as associate director and then promoted director, and then I took on the GM role about 1 year ago, literally just coming up to a year, I think tomorrow. I've just realised, 1st of September.
Just in time.
Yeah, exactly. It just clicked.
Congratulations.
That was the time. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, head up a team now of around 20 people, and it's IPN is it's one of the long agencies I've been at the longest, and I think it's really kind of it's a place that is very kind of entrepreneurial in the sense that we really kind of operate as that small business mentality. We're part of BBDO as a larger group, but we're really kind of I'm able to really kind of create the team that I want, work with the team that I want. We have a fantastic team of around 20 people, as I mentioned, and really kind of everyone in that building and the team, they all have the right attitude, the right intent, and it's we have some fantastic clients and we do some great work. So the last 10 years has been an experience, but a very enjoyable one.
Yeah. And taking the role of a general manager is very important because you're shaping how the agency moves forward. People culture is something which we were speaking off camera as well, is very important to you and how you're cultivating it. How much of an impact does it make to have the right person for the right job with the right attitude? It's very easy to find people who know the job, but if the attitude doesn't work out, at the end of the day, it creates problems.
Yeah.
What's that secret success mantra that you have when you look at hiring someone new that has to match, the attitude, the work? How do you check whether the person is a good fit or not?
Yeah, and exactly, I couldn't agree more. It's you can teach someone skills. You can help them improve their writing. You can give them coaching when it comes to pitching media or presenting or whatever it might be. But you can't teach someone to want to do the job well and want to have that attitude and that kind of accountability. And I think that's something that's really key when whether it's the most junior person or the most senior person, you're having that sense of pride in what you're doing, that professional pride, that accountability that, if I've said I'm going to do something for a client, I'm going to follow through, I'm going to do it. And it makes the workplace more enjoyable, right? We spend 8+ hours a day with these people. You've got to be able to work with them, to know that everyone's kind of got the best intent at heart and trying to do the right thing. And I think that that's something that you can sense it when you interview someone, but an interview, whether it's a couple of interviews or an assessment or whatever it might be, you only really get to understand that once you're working with someone. And I think the first kind of 3 months in that role is really about us extending that interview process, but also the person that's coming in extending that for us as well. You're interviewing the company as well.
Right.
And I think that I have been very lucky in my journey that I've worked with some fantastic leaders who have kind of inspired me and made me think, that's the sort of leader I want to be. And also some not so great leaders, and you go, that's what I don't want to do. And that's something that when I'm in my career, when I'm engaging with my team, I don't want to ever feel like that. So it's that kind of taking positives from the good, taking learnings from the bad. And it's really about kind of, I think, teaching by example as well. I think that IPN is an agency where, and I've had conversations with team members when they say, well, I thought at this senior level I would be kind of being an account director and I would sit back and do certain things. And I've been in bigger agencies where it very much is like that. IPN is an agency where everyone gets involved. Everyone rolls their sleeves up. Everyone, we're there to get the job done. And if someone can do it quicker and faster and better than someone else, then let's get that person involved and let's use each person to their strength and to their skills. But that kind of attitude piece, as you said, is so important because sometimes, the world of PR, sometimes it is going to be a late night. Sometimes it is going to be I need you to be there at 7 in the morning. I know it's a pain. I need you to work on the weekend. If people feel that they're valued, that they're kind of getting something out of it, that they have that environment, then they want to be there, they want to do that. So I think it's absolutely the attitude of the person, but it's also how do we build that culture so people want to do work, want to kind of feel that they've got the space to be able to do the best work possible.
Oh, perfect. And obviously having the great team is something that's very important, and being blessed with some of the best clients is also something very important. There are multiple crises that happen within a PR agency as well. A lot of times the end consumer or a normal person does not even realize that a PR crisis has happened. How do you learn, when was for example, the first crisis that you had where you were like, oops, the client being spoken about badly? How do we correct this as a PR agency? What was the first ever crisis that you individually had to face, and how did you get out of that?
I think I'm thinking way back now, and I'm thinking to my kind of Text 100 days, and I won't name the client because, as you say, if you're doing your job well, then no one gets to know about it. Yeah. But in terms of consumer products that have become faulty and that then could potentially be giving risk to a consumer. And I think something, again, and going back to being able to be around inspirational leaders who kind of want to take you along that journey with them. I was working with someone very senior who was, managing the crisis, but she said, this is a great learning opportunity for everyone. Everyone's going to be involved in this. So yes, of course, we have a duty of care to our client and we need to get things done quickly and we need to prepare and we need to, monitor the media. Is this something that's being spoken about on social? Is this something that, is getting out into the public? Do we have media calling us? We have to monitor that. But her being able to say, okay, guys, listen, this is the process, this is what we need to do. I'm going to be the client interface, but we want you all to learn along the way. I think now it sounds strange, but I really enjoy crisis in the sense of It's kind of a moment to go, okay, have we got all of our processes in place? A lot of the time we say to clients, the best way to manage a crisis is all the prep that happens before. If you've done everything and you're in the right place and right position, then what comes after is kind of second nature. So, yes, it's about monitoring, remaining calm, making sure you've got your statements ready, making sure that you're monitoring, making sure there's a crisis team that everyone knows what their role is, what their responsibility is. But a lot of it is done from that prep work. I think that was something that I kind of learned in that first crisis of, if we'd had more prep, we probably wouldn't be in this position. So I think that kind of having that front of mind in whatever whatever industry you work with, ever sort of client. We work with a lot of entertainment clients and leisure and tourism, and they have assets where things go wrong every day. Whether it be a child goes missing or someone injures themselves, from the small to large scale crisis. It's all about kind of making sure that everyone is aware from an operational level, from a comms level, from a leadership level, who's qualified to speak, who isn't, who's the right spokesperson. So yeah, crisis is an interesting thing, and I think it's always good to have every member of the team as well, because sometimes something they might say, oh, well, I didn't think that was a crisis, so I didn't really look into it. If they're aware of the process and how we deal with crisis, that small issue that happens could turn into something big. So how do we get the team involved in recognizing that and being involved? And it's not saying that they're drafting up the crisis manual and doing the crisis training, but being part of that journey as well, I think is important for the team.
True. You also mentioned social media, the importance of social media as well. Crisis management definitely has changed what it was 5 years ago. Comes to now when you have content creators, influencers, where if these individuals talk something that's not very positive about the brand takes a big hit.
Yeah.
How much has the journey changed from doing quote-unquote traditional crisis management to the new world of influencers and content creators, where literally any content creator can be a threat to you, to the brand? Does that, your workload, does that go 10x in terms of monitoring everything else? Or, how does that impact you as a PR agency director on a general day-to-day basis? Because that's a pretty big thing to keep in mind of.
Yeah, I think it's, the basic approach doesn't change too much. Of course, it's exemplified because it's much quicker, it's much speedier, it can happen instantly. You can go to bed one night and everything's fine, wake up in the morning and something's happened in China that suddenly affects your client. It really can happen that quickly. It's happening on social very quickly, and the conversation is developing so quickly. I think that a key thing to think about when it's on social now is about the fact that you don't always have to respond. Not everything needs to be a reaction. True. And I think so often sometimes, a client will see this person's spoken negatively about me, we need to go back to this is the statement, let's do this. When actually it's about sometimes us as an agency, and our role is, well, let's take a moment, let's be calm, let's think about this. Do we need to react to that? What are we going to say? Is what we're going to say going to maybe exasperate the conversation? Is this person who's speaking, are they really a threat to us? When we do our kind of crisis analysis as well, it's how much of a communication threat is it? Is it really something that's really just an issue and it can go away? What's the news cycle? So I think it has changed in the sense that things can get out of hand much quicker, but also the kind of basic approach of being prepared, really assessing the risk, and ensuring that not every crisis means you have to respond to something. Sometimes it's just a case of, we'll monitor this, but actually we don't need to react to this, because it's that thing of, if brands reacted to every single negative thing about them out there, we'd be working 24/7 constantly.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you coach the younger team that's coming in, because PR, there's digital PR, there's about building relationships, there's about client communications. So do you work on different teams that focuses only on client communications? Do you have a separate team that works only on external PR or digital PR, or do you have a profile that sort of works all in one? What's your individual approach towards hiring someone in?
Yeah, I think that for me, and from my experience and what I've seen at IPN, is talent really needs to be kind of all-rounders. So while we have some pockets where someone's really focused on content or someone's really focused on media relations, for a client and for someone, for you, someone to really understand a client's business, understand the day-to-day from the client servicing to the the trends about them to their business problems, they really need to be kind of immersed in that client and really kind of get to the bottom of it. I think that something in terms of training and coaching, it's beyond the basics of PR and how you write a press release and media relations and how you develop thought leadership profiling. It's something that we spend a lot of time coaching clients as well, and coaching teams as well. And it sounds silly, but it's the client servicing piece, because it becomes it should be quite intuitive in the sense that knowing when to chase a client on something and when not to. I think something we talk to the teams quite a lot about is empathy with clients, right? A lot of the time, our clients are one-man bands, or they're sitting in a team where they have to constantly prove the worth of PR. We could talk for hours about how do you prove the value of PR. And our clients are sitting, with teams where they have to have these conversations. So how do we make their lives easier? How do we package something so it's easier for them to be able to sell internally, or to have a conversation with someone that needs to buy into the idea or the campaign, wherever it might be? how do we, when we're taking a speaking opportunity to a client or a basic, media inquiry, how are we giving them all the answers? Everything that we know, how are we making sure that they just go, yep, this is easy, I can pass this on. I think, people really underestimate that client experience piece and how it's not just about delivering great work, but what is it like to work with these people? What is it like to work with you every day? Again, I said about sitting, our teams, we spend a lot of time with our teams, but a lot of time with our clients as well. On the phone with them, in meetings, day to day, you spend a lot of time with clients. So what is that? How do they experience us as an agency? And I think that, yes, absolutely, there is a need for training on being a good practitioner and learning capabilities and specialities, but it's also that kind of intuition on how do you build a rapport with a client. It sounds silly, but a lot of the times, a team member will come to me and say, I've got this challenge with the client and they've said this and I want to go back with this. Pick up the phone. Why don't you give them a quick call? If your email's over 2 paragraphs, give the client a call. It's much easier, and more often than not, you get a much easier, much better response. Again, it sounds silly, but we don't know how our emails are being received sometimes. A client is a human being as well. They could have had a super busy morning, back-to-back meetings, they've seen our email, they haven't really had a chance to look at it. Quick WhatsApp, hey, give me a call when you've got a second to talk through this, and we can we can come to a quick conclusion, whatever it might be.
Again, also I think it's more about humanizing the whole process of
Exactly.
It's not just quote unquote a PR agency. We're actually an extension of your brand itself.
Yeah.
I think that changes a lot from a brand perspective.
Yeah, and it sounds cliche because I think a lot of agencies talk about we want to be partners, we want to be an extended part of your team, but I think IPN prides itself on so many of its clients we've had for 3, 4, 5, 6+ years because we do see ourselves as partners. We engage the team, we want to keep the best talent so that they also want to work on that client agency relationship means that we're keeping talent, they're getting to work with the same talent, which means for them they're not then having to upskill a new team again, and of course part of my role is making sure that we stabilize the teams and the clients, but it's really so that clients feel that they're not only getting the best talent, but we're keeping that talent as well, so it's kind of time saving. But yeah, it's a relationship, and in any relationship you want trust, you want transparency, you want communication. That's what we kind of really try and impress on the team members, whether they're junior to senior. It's about that relationship more than just being good at your job, and it comes back to that kind of attitude and culture piece as well.
And that makes so much sense when you look at the broader and the wider picture as well. I'm sure that you win a lot of clients, but you lose some as well. How do you take a loss of a client? Something that you've, let's say, worked on for months and years, because picking up a client and like you said, understanding the brand, making sure that we know the terms, we know the way, it takes a lot of hard work to get there. How do you deal with instances where the client signs up unrealistic expectations of what a PR can do for us, and like after 6 months they're like, Claire, this is not working out, I'm just going to walk out of the window. How do you manage with that, with client expectations internally as well? Yeah,
I think there's a couple of bits we say in terms of losing a client. I always want to understand when we've lost a client. What was the reasoning? Was it our fault? Could we have done better? Why has this happened? You'd hope that if there's challenges and issues that we haven't been performing as an agency, we haven't been meeting expectations, I would hope that either myself or someone in my senior team has seen that coming, had those conversations. We've been able to turn it around. We've tried to fix it. Sometimes you cannot. It's either it's an external factor that you're not aware of. It could be something that we've not delivered, we've not communicated, and that's kind of unforgivable because back into that whole client relationship piece, you should understand what their challenges are, what their brief is, why this isn't working. It happens. I think with the team it's all about, let's learn from this. What didn't we do? Why didn't this work? How do we make sure we don't have that happen moving forward? In terms of client expectations, again, IPN, I believe we pride ourselves on being a very practical agency as well, in the sense that we won't say to a client, yes, we can do that, and then not be able to deliver, because back to the relationship piece, you erode your trust. There's not that transparency. Yes, absolutely, there's conversation with clients where they say, this is what it is, I need you to get it done, let's make it happen. And we do, and we problem solve with clients. I think it's really about kind of, when you build trust and credibility with a client, when you're telling them something won't work, there's a reason behind that. Whether it's your experience, or you've done something similar with another client. Your clients pay agencies for their expertise. So you'd hope again that you have that relationship with the client to be able to say, this isn't going to work. However, we can do X, Y, Z, and this is what I think will work for you. Again, back to that client experience. No client wants to hear, oh, we can't do it. And
there has to be reasoning.
And that's it, you know, it's not going to work. And of course, you know, you have instances where running an agency, right, I'm not in the day-to-day of every client, but I try and ensure that I have touch points with clients, whether it's on a quarterly basis or, you know, we go for a coffee and I say to them, I want to hear from you directly. Good, bad, ugly, you know, what is it that you love about working with IPN? What is it that we're not quite hitting? What do you need to see more of? And, you know, I think a lot of feedback we get from clients is absolutely, you are our partner, you are transparent, you deliver, you tell us what you can do. Clients always want to see more. And I get that and I understand that, and to the point of, you know, them sometimes being standalone clients, they've got other pressures internally, and they could be part of a small organisation or part of a huge organisation like some of our clients that we work with. So it's about kind of trying to understand, you know, what keeps you up at night, what are your pressures, how can we help alleviate that? You know, I always get feedback from clients that IPN absolutely are a safe pair of hands. They do the job, they get the job done, and they are in the problem solving with us. So they're in the success with us, but they're also kind of helping us on that journey. So yeah, I think it's about making sure you're having those conversations with your clients, you're giving feedback to the team. There's no point, as much as I will say to a client, I can't fix something unless you tell me. Team member needs to get that feedback. If it's, you know, they feel we push back too much on things, or we're not giving the right counsel, or we're not, you know, being creative enough with our influencer activation, whatever it might be. My role is to take that feedback and then, hey guys, is this fair? Is what the client telling me, you know, reasonable? What do you guys think? Let's brainstorm together. It's not about going back to the team and going, clients said this, you know, you guys, you need to sort it out. It's team effort, problem solve. What do you need more from me? Is there something that I'm not supporting you with? Do you need, you know, do we need to look at the way that the team is resourced? There's lots of getting to the root of the problem. There could be lots of different ways to fix it. So it's about kind of having those conversations with clients, getting feedback from team members as well, having regular check-in with the team. How do you find things are going? You know, are we being stretched too thin? Which is why when they say to us that we're not doing enough of X, Y, Z,
because we don't have the bandwidth. Let's
understand. Let's talk about that. I think, you know, back to the point I made at the very beginning is that I think everyone's got the best intentions. So clients, team. Let's find, you know, that partnership piece. Let's find a way to fix whatever isn't working together, and then we are committed to clients. We want to work with them for a long time. That's why we've got clients we work with for such a long time. So how do we continue doing that?
That's good. The last question I think before it was what's the one thing that, you know, Claire wakes up in the morning and she's like, you know, the self-talk, like, Claire, okay, you got this. Okay, let's do this. Let's get this started. What's the one motivation factor that you personally have, which drives you every day to get up and give like your 110%?
I think it's the team that I work with, genuinely. I think that we said right at the beginning, when I took on this role and when my previous boss left, she said, you know, the opportunity you have now to be able to build the team that you want to work with, find the best talent, you know, coach that talent, have a team around you that are, you know, loyal to you and believe in you and believe in this agency. And I really feel that everyone within IPN is kind of, they know why they're there. They don't have good days all day, every day. We're all human beings and it happens and we're busy and we're stretched and all this kind of stuff. But they, you know, when I get feedback from team members going, I really enjoy working here. You know, I'm lucky to have worked in a lot of places that have been very supportive and very collaborative. But I know a lot of the team members that are with me today have had really bad experiences. So kind of being able to be in an environment, and it's not about kind of, you know, sunshine and roses all the time. It's about being transparent, being able to tell people when things aren't working, having those conversations, you know, guiding them to, well, this is where we need to get to, let's get there together. You know, having a difficult conversation doesn't need to be a conflict situation. It's just about kind of giving the facts, you know, helping people through. So I think kind of waking up every morning and, you know, I have a long list of things. I've got this whiteboard in my office now. It's all these, you know, priorities for the month, and they all disappear. And I get to the 30th, 31st of August, whatever we are today, and go, oh, haven't done any of those. But slowly kind of the key focus for me now is that team piece, you know, making sure that we're creating a culture. We have a great work culture, but it's about kind of those extra things that kind of make people go, yeah, I really believe in this agency. I really want to be here. We've got the clients. We've got a fantastic roster of clients. That is never something that I've been worried about in terms of the brands we get to work with, but do the team feel that kind of engagement all the time? You know, do they feel that being listened to? We're wanting to do things the next month or so where we have an away day where it's really just a half day out of the office. Tell me, guys, what's going on? What? I'm not telling you that everything that you ask for is going to be, you know, pizza in the office every Thursday or whatever it is, but what do you need from me? How do we make things better? It could be a process thing. It could be, you know, we want to do more client engagement things. Let's do a quarterly client meet, or whatever it might be. What things will make your life easier, and do you think it's going to contribute to IPN? You know, we've grown in the last year, we want to grow more next year. Right. What are those things? I want everyone to be kind of bought into that vision, so how can I help the team get there? So I think that's the, you know, when you're waking up thinking, another busy day, another million things to get through, I have a responsibility to my team to be doing certain things that is going to kind of engage them, encourage them, help them feel that they can do their best work, and that's what I think really kind of keeps me motivated, and you know, it's no 2 days are the same, and I think that's why people work in agencies. They love that variety. There's challenges, there's client issues, there's you know, there's team issues, there's lots that go on, but I think, you know, being in a agency that I think that culture is there, but also who I report into, I'm very supported. I'm very kind of given the freedom to build that team the way that I see, and make decisions the way that I feel is necessary. And I really feel that the team feel that from what I'm being told. So I want to continue doing that, and I hope that lots more growth come from IPN in the future.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all of your insights, and you know, absolutely pleasure speaking with you and understanding all your insights and thoughts about the thing. Wish you all the very best, and you know, let's stay in touch for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.